All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples who are shown brothers in peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful link out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful link, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures to faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, is until we're delivered, until we're delivered, there's a fight, that we must endure. There's a labor, there's a spiritual war, okay, externally and internally. Because as we fight this external, all right, spiritual war, which is, when we do the lessons, we read and research and get into things and put lessons out, all right, being watchmen, just fighting the spiritual war, externally on the outward, but there's also a war within, that we have to deal with as well. Okay, and the Lord has it set up, to where, we're around the body, especially, we're in these camps. And even if you're not in the camp, you have access to these videos and lessons. And these lessons will address particular things that's going on with us inwardly, man. Because there's an aspect of, exposing Esau and going into, what's going on. And then some lessons are meant to expose things that's going on within us. Okay. And it's easily, to be distracted by one thing and not see or recognize something. And that's why you have the body, okay, that's meant to what? To fix itself. Like just like our body, our physical body, it fixes itself, it repairs itself, you know. The body will throw off, certain signs to show that this needs attention. Okay. Well, that happens in the truth. So until we're changed, we're going to constantly go through growing pains, because we're being refined, all right, to be a finished product pleasing unto Yahweh Bashim Shai. So we're going to constantly go through these growing pains, man, because you go to Matthew 24:13, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. You see, and we have to endure, all right, everything, man, from the aspect of, being diligent, in his work, and also dealing with the inward man, making the adjustments with the inward man, okay, to continue on. All right, because the Lord, there's a certain expectation and a standard that the Lord requires for us to continue on in the body, and you look at certain men that have fallen out, and we all, brothers that's in camps, we've seen the process of men falling out. And one of the main things is that um, they never made the adjustments when it was brought to their attention. Because it's one thing, because we all going to have, flaws and mess ups and hiccups and be off. Even we can sincerely think we on point. Then the Spirit will call some, certain things out. And like when you go to the church, dealing with the churches, when Yahushua was speaking to the churches, he would commend them for their good doing, but then he will have, a problem with particular things as well. So he condemned them for things that they was on point with, but then he commended them for things they was on point with, but then he condemned them for things that was off. He rebuked them for things that was off, man. So we go through their process, all the way up until the time that we'll change, and we have to endure that. You see, men that get offended, and eventually are separated is men that would never make the adjustments when corrected, because we all gonna come to a point to where we have to get corrected. Okay, we have to, a certain admonishment goes out, certain rebukes go out, certain counsels go out to be like, look, let's switch this up, let's do this, let's make sure we, that's a part of it, man. You see? So when you go to the enduring, we have to endure that aspect as well. Of course, we got to deal with, hell on the job, or, a woman might be, you probably got to, everybody got their different external problems, which that's a part of it too. That's a part of the furnace too. Okay. But where the furnace get real intense is the inward man, the war with the inward man, to be refined and pleasing unto Yahweh. Okay? Because you go into here, and I'm gonna get that. This is so I looked it up. So I just asked, I said, does the furnace remove impurities from gold? It says yes, a furnace removes certain impurities from gold during the smelting and refining process by melting the metal typically above 1064 degrees Celsius, man. That's extremely hot, you know, showing you that this refining process is intense, and it's meant to challenge us, man. Okay? The Lord chastening us by challenging us, man. You see? And there's many different ways that can happen. But that's how the Lord chastened his sons by challenging us, man. Okay? Putting us in position that forces us to make those adjustments, man. Okay? It says, yes, a furnace removes certain impurities from gold during the smelting and refining process by melting the metal typically above 1064 degrees and using heat to oxidize base metals. Fluxes like borax or silica are added to bond with these impurities, allowing them to be schemed off as slag. So the Most High puts us in this process, this refinery, to scheme off that slag, because the heat causes the impurities, okay, to separate from, all right, the pure product, the gold, the silver, okay. So the heat causes the separation. So intensity, chastisement cause, all right, impurities to separate. So now that's the Lord, and the Lord does that by putting us in situations to cause certain things to rise to the surface, okay, that he wants us to slag off, okay. And it's a constant process of that, man. The Lord causing certain things to come about, okay, so we can recognize it, we can be aware of it, and then slag it off, man. He, you know, and that constant process all the way into the chariots, man. So until we on the chariots, man, we're gonna constantly be refined, So there's things that's gonna be addressed, called out, okay. And the thing is, make the adjustment, man. And the Lord causes these things to happen for us to look inwardly, man. It's always about looking inwardly within us, man. Speaking to myself, first and foremost now. Um, so let's go. That's why Yahweh Shah said, let's go here. When you go to Isaiah 48:10, it says, behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. You know? So we're going to be chosen out of the furnace of affliction. You see, when Yahweh Shah cracked those clouds and those chariots, okay, he's going to deliver, all right, the elect that's been going through their process of being refined and removing the slag, man. The important thing is to remove the slag, man. Okay, because the refining process will be pointless if you don't remove the slag. Matter of fact, I'm gonna ask it. Let me see. Um, let's see. Okay, slag. It's gonna be interesting. Let me see if we give us some. Let's see. It might. So I asked it, can slag mix back into gold unintentionally? So it says, yes, gold can unintentionally become trapped within slag during smelting, but it does not mix back into the purified state. Instead, gold often gets locked inside glassy byproduct slag, a common cause of lost value during processing due to improper smelting, improper fluxing, or in some case, unintentional, inefficient separation. You see? So when the Lord makes that separation, when He shows us the flaw, when He addresses us with particular things, okay, well, we have to remove that slag. You know, we have to remove that slag, all right, to protect the value of the product. Okay, and Lord will, we're that product that's being fitted, all right, that's being, refined and customized for the use of the king. Okay. You see, so when these things come about, whenever, no matter what it is, and it's gonna be a continuing process, man. It's not a one and done thing. It's gonna be a continual process, and we all sincerely fighting. You know, we all sincerely fighting. Even in that, okay, we can, the Lord causes certain things to happen because Babylon put things deep in us, man. Okay, that's why it's a constant refining, man. The Lord is steady drawing out, the impurities of Babylon, the impurities of westernization. The Lord is constantly drawing it out, man. Okay? So this refining process, is ongoing until we on those chariots, man. You see? That's why we can't neglect, self-examination. Okay? And also be mindful of counsel. You see? So let's go back from there. All right, so you go to Isaiah 48 and 10, it says, behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction, man. You know? So the Lord has his elect, because the chosen is the elect, the remnant. So the Lord has his elect going through that furnace. Okay, Yahweh Shai, he was in the furnace when he came, you know, and the climax of that furnace was the cross. That was his last phase before he would be refined and perfected and be that final product that the Heavenly Father wanted, man. Okay? Because it's all about being that finished product that's pleasing to the Father, man. That's going to be fit to be joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. That's the process we're going through now. Okay? That's why when you go here, um, so the Lord chastening us in that furnace. It says, Sirach 31, he that loveth his son causing him off to feel the rod. Okay, and that rod can be likened into this furnace, man, the affliction. Okay, the circumstances, the situations. Okay, because the Lord is drawing out of us. All right, it said that he may have joy of him in the end. Okay, and the end is the what? The return of Yahweh Shai. Okay, which those that make it and endure the affliction, the chastisement, externally and internally, all right, are going to be joint heirs with Yahweh Shai forever, man. We're going to be a vessel fitted for the use of the king. You see? And that's why when you go here to Second Timothy. Let's get this in Second Timothy. Second Timothy 2. And 20 says, but in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and earth, and some of honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. Because we're being refined so we can serve the King forever in righteousness, man. Okay, so we can be those vessels worthy to serve the King forever. So it's an ongoing process, all right, that's making us fit for the King's use. Okay? And it's going to be completed at the return of Yahweh. The El Zahab always going to it, man, until we get on those chariots, man. It's a fight, you know? And that old man is always going to be the biggest opponent, okay? Because that old nigga, you know, as we keep burying this nigga, man, daily, but there's more things inside that nigga that got to come out. Okay, the Lord got to draw it out of us, man, and expel it. So you go here to the book of Philippians chapter 1 and verse 6. It said, being confident of this very thing. Well, I'm reading NLT, Philippians 1 and 6. And I'm certain that the Most High who began the good work, all right, within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Yahweh Shai HaMashiach returns. So the Heavenly Father that begun a good work, all right, in us, he's going to finish that good work. You see? But it's a process, okay? And it's not comfortable. You see? It's not comfortable to the flesh. It's not comfortable to the ego, okay? Was this process, it has to happen, you know? In order for us to be fitted for the King's use, we have to go through that process and remove those impurities, man. So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutation to the hopeful, Shalom.